Manchester United in talks to sign new Argentinian centre-back. Will Mason Greenwood end up moving to Juventus? And a reaction to Erik ten Hag's press conference talking about the Man United injury crisis. These are some of the topics we will be discussing on this evening's live show. But before we jump into that, please smash a like on today's video, subscribe to the channel if this is your first time watching, and let's get straight on into it then. So let's start the show off by, let's start with some positivity, as we always like to do. So Erik ten Hag obviously spoke to the press earlier on today ahead of the Chelsea game tomorrow evening, and we can confirm that Raphael Varane, Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire are all back in training and available. Now, some of you are probably sat at home thinking, is that good news? Is that positive? Of course it is. Lindelof's out for the season. Martinez is out for the season. Luke Shaw's out for the season. That's 3 players who play in the centre-back position or can play in the centre-back position. Now, the injury crisis at the moment is crazy. It really, really is. It's been like that all season, though. I seen a stat earlier on today that apparently 51 instances of injury have happened across the whole of the season. 51. It's the most out of any team in the Premier League. Now, where do we go from here? I don't know. I think an investigation does need to be had. And Erik ten Hag was asked about that in his press conference. And he says that apparently they have identified what the issue is, but apparently they're not willing to share that with us yet. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm sure, there's lots of different people saying different things. Some people are saying it's the training's too intense. Other people are saying the players are injury prone. I think it's a bit of both, to be honest, because, you look at people like Luke Shaw, he gets injured a lot, regardless of when Erik ten Hag was here or not. It's not like all of these players were fit every single season and then Erik ten Hag came in and they've all suddenly started getting injured. It's been like this for quite a while. Obviously, this season has been absolutely crazy, but, that is probably to be expected. Yeah, but it's crazy. It really, really is. But let me know what you guys think about the injury crisis at Manchester United. I'm happy that we've at least got those 3 centre-backs for the game against Chelsea. Obviously, I would go with Varane and Maguire to start that game against Chelsea. That's what has to happen. And I will say this as well. For me personally, you've got to give Mason Mount a try against Chelsea. I don't want to see Scott McTominay starting against Chelsea tomorrow. That's going to be a massive red flag. If I see Scott McTominay playing tomorrow, that's going to be concerning for me, because we all sat at home can see that McTominay offers nothing in that midfield. Yes, he scores the odd goal, which kind of sugarcoats his terrible performances. But in a game like that against Chelsea, a game that we have to win, Champions League might be gone, but we have to get Europa League at the very, very bare minimum. And if we are to get Champions League football, which I think is unlikely, we have to win the game tomorrow against Chelsea. We have to. I mean, if we win the game tomorrow, we'll be 6 points off Tottenham, which with 8 games to go, we could still do it. But, it's a massive could. It's an if. We have to beat Chelsea. We have to beat Liverpool. We have to go on a run. And when you look at the games we've got left over the next 8 or 9 matches, you've got Chelsea away, difficult match. You've then got Liverpool at home, difficult match. Bournemouth away. I mean, Bournemouth beat us 3-0 at Old Trafford. That's going to be difficult. You've then got Newcastle, very difficult. A couple of more easier games after that. You've got Sheffield United and Burnley. Both of those teams are fighting for their life, though. And then in the kind of final 2 or 3 matches of the season, you've got Arsenal at home, who could be on the brink of winning the Premier League. And you've got Brighton away. I mean, it's a really, really difficult run to the end of the season. And the reason I'm bringing up this is that we need to get some sort of European football at a very bare minimum. But yeah, let me know in the comment section, guys. Would you be happy if Man United got Europa League? Would you be okay with that? Obviously, from the beginning of the season, I think everybody expected top 4 as kind of a minimum. So I'm not going to be happy, but I think given the injuries, given the off-field issues, given the sagas that have happened, the Sancho saga, the takeover, all of these things that have happened over the last kind of 12 months, if we were to finish the season with 6th place, get to the FA Cup final and win the FA Cup, I'd be really, really happy with that, being honest. I would be. I think if we were to win the FA Cup, that would be 2 trophies back to back, one in the first year and one in the second year. It'd be very difficult to not be happy with that. Now, I know the football's not good. I know that there's a lot of question marks around a lot of players, but yeah, I think that has to be the goal now. I think we need to get Europa League football, so that means 6th place, and we also have to win the FA Cup. That's got to be the target now. But yeah, I mean, we could easily not get Europa League. I don't want to be negative, but the table is quite tight up there. We're only 3 points ahead of West Ham, although we have played 2 games in hand. But it's tight. If we were to lose the next 2 games in a row, like, we could easily be finishing 8th or 9th this season. We might not get any European football at all. We might end up with the dreaded Europa Conference League, which nobody wants, I'm sure of. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. What's your kind of expectation for the rest of the season? You know, what would you like to be as a minimum? And everyone who's just joined, please smash a like on the video. It helps to bring more people in. So if you haven't done that yet, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It doesn't cost any money. It's completely free. So yeah, please go and do that quickly now. I think we're only like 2 or 3 subscribers away from 21,400. So go and subscribe. Doesn't cost you any money. Bottom right hand corner. Right, let's move on to the story about Mason Greenwood then. So this story has been floating around for what feels like a lifetime, but there's been a fresh new story that's come out this evening, and the headline is this: that Juventus are now ready to make a move for Mason Greenwood this summer. It says Man United are really keen on signing Juventus centre-back Bremer. So there is a possibility that United could look to do a swap deal of Greenwood for Bremer. Now, I want you guys to let me know your thoughts on this. Would you be happy if Man United agreed to swap Greenwood with Juventus for their Brazilian centre-back Bremer? I think I would be. Being honest with you, I personally wouldn't buy Bremer if it was like between other players. Not because I don't think he's good enough, but I just think that he's, I think, 28, just turned 28. Juventus apparently want around 50 million euros for him. And I just think it's too much for a 28-year-old. And I think that you bring him in, and in 3 years, you're then going to have to bring in somebody else. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But if it was a swap deal for Greenwood and effectively we didn't actually have to pay any of our own money, then I think it would be quite a good bit of business, you know? But yeah. But let me know what you guys think. Would you do a swap deal, Greenwood for Bremer at Juventus? Let's see what people are saying in the chat this evening. Cyprian says we should just sell Greenwood. Fair enough, yeah. I mean, that is an option. But the thing we have to remember is, right, a lot of these clubs in Europe don't have massive transfer budgets, especially at the moment. Like, funds are really, really limited across Europe. And, you know, the Italian clubs have never really been massive spenders. I know Juventus throw the money around, but Juventus are in tight financial difficulties, aren't they, at the moment? So I can't imagine Juventus being like, oh, here's 50, 60 million for Mason Greenwood. Like, that's not going to happen. So that's why there's these stories of swap deals kind of sound believable. Will that happen? I don't know. I would probably say at this point it's unlikely, being completely honest. Like, but obviously this is a news channel. We report the news, we bring it to you, and then we discuss it. But do I think that Manchester United would do a swap deal with Juventus? Probably not. I don't think it sounds that believable, but you never know in football, do you? But let me know what you guys think in the comment section on that story. I wanted to talk a little bit about Marcus Rashford, actually, because a journalist I quite like who reports for ESPN has been talking about him, and he said that every big European club has an interest in Marcus Rashford. It says PSG are monitoring his current situation. Real Madrid and Barcelona have been hugely interested in the past. All the big European clubs say the same thing about Rashford. He has power, amazing dribbling and finishing. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with Marcus Rashford in the summer. I like Marcus Rashford. I have done for a long time. I think last season he was incredible. But he doesn't seem happy to me. Watching him play football, he doesn't seem like a happy person. Now, I don't know. I don't know why that is. And I think that there is a good player there. But I just feel like maybe the best thing for Rashford is, I don't know, maybe he does need to be away from Man United. I don't know. I know he loves the club. I know he's from the area and all the rest of it, and I respect that. And I really, really like the guy. But it's impossible not to look at him and see that he seems unhappy. Especially when you've seen him other seasons where he does look happy. Now, is there things going on off the field that we don't know about, you know, in his personal life? There's all these different things that make it very difficult to formulate an opinion on him. And sometimes, you know, you're overcritical of players when you don't actually really know the full level of what's going on in their lives and all the rest of it. Now, I know people will say They're a footballer. They're paid vast amounts of money to play football. But everybody's human, you know? And we have to remember that sometimes. But if he's unhappy at Man United, you know, if the pressure's getting to him and all the rest of it, then I think going to somewhere like PSG would be an incredible move for Marcus Rashford. You know, they're one of the biggest clubs in the world. They've got a massive fan base. Paris is obviously an incredible city. He would go there and be one of the biggest names in the French league, if not the biggest, obviously with Mbappe leaving. And, you know, he'd probably get paid even more than he is at Man United. And being honest, you know, obviously I support Manchester United and that's the team I love. But if that was going to be a better option for him, then maybe he should consider that. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. The general message coming out of the club is that apparently Marcus Rashford isn't for sale, but they're never going to come out and publicly say Marcus Rashford is for sale, are they? Because that just, you know, that just doesn't happen in any football club. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Marcus Rashford. But you can let me know in the comments section. Do you think Manchester United should look to move Marcus Rashford on in the summer? You know, do you think his form is Erik ten Hag's fault, or do you think it's his fault? Like, what do you think's going wrong with him? Because there's clearly something not 100% right. Yeah, I would love nothing more than for Marcus Rashford to be world class at Manchester United. You know, I like him. I really, really do. But it just doesn't seem to be working at the moment. And we need to try and work out why that is. But yeah, you can let me know in the comment section. What do you think the best course of action for Marcus Rashford is? I mean, it could even be as simple as this. But what I'm about to say now concerns me if this was the case. It might be that a new manager comes in and Marcus Rashford turns into Marcus Rashford again. But that would then prove that some of these players can, you know, almost have a switch where they can either play well or not play well based on whether they like the manager or whether they like the training and all the rest of it, you know. And there's been a lot of people making accusations like that over the years, hasn't there? That, you know, these players down tools and all the rest of it. And I would hate for that to be proved right. So I don't know. I think the style of play that Man United play at the moment actually suits Marcus Rashford's style because it is very much counter-attacking. It's very much transition-based football. You know, it's acting in the moment and capitalising on counter-attacking moments, which is Marcus Rashford's game. It's not like we've got 70-80% possession and we're passing the ball backwards and forwards like Man City do. Like, that wouldn't suit Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford has got explosive pace, has got a good shot on him and is skillful, which you would think would suit this current Man United team, but it just doesn't seem to work. So I don't know. It's very, very strange. Fred says Rashford hasn't been right since the Sancho issue. I mean, that's another thing, isn't it? We obviously know that Rashford and Sancho were really good friends. Yeah, it's a difficult one, and I don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer. And, you know, at the end of the day, we all just have opinions that are formulated based on what we see on the pitch. And the one opinion that seems to be agreed with all Man United fans at the moment is that Rashford doesn't look his normal self. He doesn't seem happy. And obviously Manchester United's job is to make Marcus Rashford play like Marcus Rashford, not play like a shadow of Marcus Rashford. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. But I think at the moment it's a difficult position for most of these players. Every player in the team's had a pretty poor season, really. So I'm not trying to single out Rashford. I mean, Bruno's been poor at times. I mean, he's had a couple of odd good games. But yeah, it's difficult. Moving on to the manager, there's another story quickly to bring in for you guys about Erik ten Hag, coming from the same journalist who reports for ESPN. And he is reporting that people close to Erik ten Hag are unsure what will happen at the end of the season. They know that he is being closely monitored by Ineos and his future is open. I mean, this story isn't really telling us too much. We all kind of know this. I personally think that Ineos will keep him for one more season. I think that Ineos are careful people. I think they're people who will spend a lot of time reflecting on decisions. I don't feel like they're the type of people who will see a poor game and sack a manager immediately. I feel, and I like that because I think there is a bigger picture to everything. And I personally think that Ineos will say, let's give him one more season because he's got one more year of his contract. If it doesn't work in that time, you move him on and you start something new. That would make the most sense for me. I'm not Erik ten Hag in forever. My stance is give him that one more year of his contract with Dan Ashworth, Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, all of this new team. He doesn't have to deal with the Glazers anymore. John Murtaugh's gone. Richard Arnold's gone. You're dealing with these elite professionals, Dan Ashworth did incredible things at Brighton and Newcastle. Omar Barada was pivotal to Man City's success of where they are now. Like, he's going to be working with elite people. And if he can't get it to work with those people, and with more recruitment, then obviously at that point, I think he probably should go. But for me personally, getting rid of him in the summer would be a mistake. But obviously, it's up to you guys to have your opinion. I'm going to get a poll started, actually, because obviously we haven't done a live video in a while. So I would like to see where the community is at the moment. So whilst I set up the poll, can everybody do me a small favour and go and smash a like on the video? Doesn't cost you any money. Let's try and hit 100 likes by the end of today's video. And subscribe if you're new as well. So the question's going to be simple. Do you want Erik ten Hag to remain as United manager next season? Very simple question. Anybody watching it back on repeat, obviously you can't get involved in the poll, but you can get involved in the comment section. So let me know. Do you want Erik ten Hag to remain as the Manchester United manager next season? If you want to give a bit of reasoning as well, I would always like to see what people have to say. So if you want to give me your reasons for why you've said yes or no, that would obviously be helpful, and I'll read out some of them. But yeah, for me personally, I would like him to remain as Man United manager for one more season, give him till the end of his contract, and then at least we can say we've tried everything. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It'll be 3 years. You say goodbye. But what happens if we do an Arsenal where in our third season we start playing really good football and everyone's sat there saying, how did I ever criticise Erik ten Hag and all the rest of it? Like, that is a possibility, isn't it? Yeah, for me, I would keep him for one more season. Right, let's move on to some more transfer related news. So we've been linked to this player so much over the last kind of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and that is Boca Juniors centre back Aaron Anslamino, Argentinian international, 18 years of age. And it looks like Manchester United are really, really pushing to try and sign this guy. From what I'm hearing, Man United would then look to loan him to Nice. Kind of similar to what Arsenal did with Saliba. They bought Saliba, didn't they? And then they loaned him out to... Was it to Nice or was it to another team in... I can't remember. Let me just have a quick look. I know Arsenal did a similar thing. They bought Saliba when he was quite young. Yeah, so they bought him from Saint Etienne for 30 million, and then they loaned him back to Saint Etienne for... I think it was for 2 seasons. And then they loaned him to Nice as well, actually. Yeah. So it's a similar kind of idea where you buy a player when they're, 19, 20, somebody for the future. But instead of bringing them straight into the Premier League and throwing them in at the deep end, you loan them out to, let's be honest, a lesser league in the French league. And then you can closely monitor how they get on. So I quite like the idea of this guy. Money-wise, I think it's, the deal is apparently would cost somewhere around £50 million, which I think's quite fair for a 19-year-old. It's a difficult one. It's hard to get excited about because it's not somebody who's going to be part of the first team immediately. It's, somebody for the future. But I like that we're being linked to these younger profile players, and I like that it kind of seems like we're changing our general transfer strategy. It's not just let's spend stupid amounts of money on a massive name player like a Lukaku or a Pogba or somebody, for big money, or a Di Maria or a Cavani or Ronaldo. This is more planning for the future. It's more kind of sensible business. It's more like something that like Brighton would do. So yeah, I like the sound of this. I'm going to be honest, I've never seen the guy play football. I don't know that much about him. But from what I've read and what I've heard, he's one of the most exciting players coming out of the Argentinian league at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Fred has said, Fred says, I'd like Erik ten Hag to stay, but I think Ineos have already made up their minds on replacing him. Maybe. I don't think so personally. I think they're waiting to see what happens at the end of the season. I think they're waiting to see if he wins the FA Cup. I think they're waiting to see if he gets Champions League football. There is still stuff to play for. I know it feels like the season is over and it's all doom and gloom, but there is still a possibility that we can turn this season around. Imagine if we're sat here in 6 weeks' time and we've won the FA Cup and we've somehow qualified for the Champions League. Like, stranger things have happened in football. I mean, I don't think it will happen, but it could. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see though. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined me on the show this evening. If you have enjoyed today's video, please do smash a like on your way out. Don't forget to subscribe as well if this is your first time watching. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a great evening, everybody, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow.